Hey guys, I did my environmental issue on the Japanese nuclear disaster of Fukushima power plant that was hit by the tsunami about a year ago. It suffered multiple meltdowns at the time, and an independent report revealed that the government downplayed the full danger um, in the days after the disaster, and they had secretly considered evacuating Tokyo. And on Tuesday, February 28th, journalists were allowed to take a tour, one of which was an American from the Associated Press. And she reported crumpled tracks and equipment still lying on the ground, a power pylon that collapsed during the tsunami, cutting all the electricity to the plant's vital cooling system and setting off the crisis remained a mangled mess. Um, Officials say the worst is over, but the plant still remains vulnerable. The plant manager Takeishi Takahashi released a statement that said, "I have to admit that it's still rather fragile, even though the plant has achieved what we all call cold shutdown conditions. It still causes problems that must be improved." The government announced in December that 3 melted reactors at the plant had basically stabilized and radiation release had dropped. It still will take decades to fully decommission the plant, and it must be kept stable until then. The operators have installed multiple backup power supplies, a cooling system, and equipment to process massive amounts of contaminated water that leaked from the damaged reactors. But the equipment that serves as a lifeline for the cooling system is shockingly feeble looking. Plastic hoses cracked by freezing temperatures have been mended with tape. A set of 3 pumps sit on the back of a pickup truck. Um, Along with the pumps, the plant now has 1,000 tanks to store more than 160 tons of contaminated water. Um, the radiation levels in the reactor have fallen, allowing workers to repair some of the damage to the reactor building. Exposure to this radiation can cause radiation sickness, including nausea and elevated risk of cancer. Officials say that the radiation hotspots remain inside the plant, and minimizing exposure to them is a challenge. Employees usually work for 2 to 3 hours at a time, but in some areas, including high contaminated areas, they can only stay a few minutes. Amazingly, since the March 11th crisis, no one has died from radiation exposure. Tuesday's tour was organized by the plant operator, Tokyo Electric Power Company. It came as an independent group released a report saying the government withheld information about the full danger of disaster from its own people and from the United States. The report delivers a scathing view of how leaders played down the risks of the reactor meltdowns while holding secret discussions of a worst-case scenario. The report also said that the government's oversight was inadequate and they never made any type of renovations to prevent something like this in case of a tsunami. They clung to a myth of safety. The government definitely should have stepped forward here and forced them to seal off the plant so they don't have what has happened now. This could have been prevented by the government just stepping in and requiring them to make the necessary changes to keep the country of Japan safe and not letting the nuclear reactors start leaking.